As most of you know, pretty much everyone who knows me obviously knows what I do for a living. So it's just natural for the conversation to come up pretty much wherever I am, um, as to what the market's doing right now, especially in many different aspects of the media, there's all this talk and disagreements. People are watching interest rates, seeing what's going on there, and asking, basically, how's the market? What are rates doing? Ultimately, some of it's curiosity, but for the most part, um, it's a way of asking for guidance of what they should be doing. Um, and frequently, I'm seeing more and more people decide to stay in the home they're in due to the difference in rates. And that's something that is across the board. But I also want to look at some statistics in our current market here locally, as well as across the nation, what we're anticipating might happen over the next couple of years. And, just how all of these different aspects in the market play a role in people's decisions currently. So, first thing to note is data doesn't matter if you don't know how to interpret it, right? So, when I pull statistics for our current market, it's really interesting because it states that the average list price of a home has increased this year, even from the beginning of this year to now. It's continuing to increase. While homes are generally selling under list as opposed to over right now. Of course, it depends on the home, price point, location, all that plays a role. But in general, listing higher, selling for less than list price. And on the surface, that doesn't make any sense, right? Why would you just list a home high if it's not going to sell for that price? But if you really dive into what's going on in the market, both locally and across the nation, then it paints a pretty clear picture and we can understand what's going on. So a survey was done this year and it stated that 82% of potential move-up buyers, someone who owns a home now but is looking to move into a bigger or more expensive home, 92% of them felt that they were trapped by their current interest rate on their mortgage. That's a staggering number. 82% of people who want to move into a bigger home, they've outgrown it, maybe they've had more kids, maybe they're working from home, whatever the case may be, they would normally be moving and buying a bigger home right now, but they're not, because whether they bought during the last couple of years or refinance, they're sitting at a 2 or 3% interest rate and aren't willing to have that rate double. So what does that mean for both them and everyone else in the market? Well, it creates an inventory shortage. So we are seeing an uptick in inventory, but explaining the higher price is, and this is what makes it difficult for first-time home buyers right now too, because realistically, it is, provided you can afford your mortgage and a little bit set away in case something happens, it is always better to go ahead and purchase versus rent, unless I wouldn't say always, but we've been over a little bit of this. If you're not planning on moving soon, and no major changes in your life, ultimately owning a home makes more sense because you're building that equity versus rent. So while first-time home buyers are definitely still feeling the pain of this, the bigger side of it comes into inventory as well. Because all those people who are in their starter home and plan to move in a couple of years that are now feeling stuck, those homes are not coming on the market. So there's less for first-time home buyers to buy. We're not seeing that many homes hit the market under 300,000. So then that plays a role in trying to find something as a first-time home buyer. Everything costs more because the less expensive homes people are hanging on to. And so that's where, you can argue home prices really aren't going up. They are staying pretty steady. We are still seeing, normal appreciation. We had this crazy appreciation over the last few years of like 11 to 14%. A normal healthy appreciation rate is about 3%. So we are still seeing the appreciation, but the reason we're seeing an uptick in listing prices is because the people who are listing their homes are the people who, either need to sell for a personal reason, or they're people who have been in their home long enough that even if they had refinanced and have a lower interest rate, they have enough equity in the home to offset that difference. So with that, I want you to keep in mind, if you're considering buying, what types of homes you'll be looking at. So again, first of all, there's probably going to be a lot more higher priced homes versus what you would typically consider a starter home. So finding a starter home, you still need to expect to be in competition with a number of other buyers. It is not necessarily going to be, it's a slower market. I can get whatever I want out of the seller. If you're under 300,000, you still need to be a little competitive. But also understand that a lot of these people are either downsizing or they're at the point of going into maybe an assisted living. And whatever the case may be, they no longer need that large home, and they're taking the money out of that and moving into something else. So now, not only do you have less starter homes available because the people who bought those aren't ready to move up given the interest rate they have and the feelings of being trapped, but you also have these people looking to downsize because they're really the only ones who have a home with the low interest rate who can afford to move, looking to also take those smaller homes. So there's tons of competition on I like to refer to them as a cycle home. It sounds weird, but typical 3-bedroom, 2-bath, not huge, one level. That's what I live in. It's perfect for a starter home or when you're back to downsizing. So you have double the people looking for that home type and less people looking for the larger home because people aren't moving up. So we're seeing homes be priced higher because those are the homes being listed. It's not that prices are going up. So don't let anyone tell you, oh, prices are still going up crazy. No, it's a different demographic of home. However, again, they are staying steady. So if you're thinking about selling your home, no, your buyer pool is going to vary depending on the type, size, price. But you are still getting appreciation. It is still an investment to purchase, but we're just in this weird little funk because those super awesome low interest rates have really kind of thrown everyone through a loop. The other thing to consider is Chattanooga specifically is a very saturated market for investors. So we have a ton of people buying homes to rent them out or buying homes to flip them. And that's great for the investors. Pros and cons to it. It is driving prices up. Again, more competition in those less expensive homes. But what I've also seen is it has created this expectation in buyers. And we argue some of this might be due to HGTV and stuff like that too. How much weight I put on that, I don't really know. But especially in this market, because there's so many homes that just like look beautifully updated, there's this expectation that you're going to walk in a home and it's going to be completely updated. Doesn't matter if it was built in 1960, you're just going to have those cool old features mixed with a fully updated home. If you are paying the money after a flip, that may be the case. However, we need to sometimes look past the pretty, and I know it's really hard because you're looking at these rates and going, oh, well, I feel like for what I'm paying, same with rent. I feel like for what I'm paying, I should get more. It should be updated. I should have a bigger yard. Whatever it is that you're really fixated on, but understand we're not anticipating rates to go down much through the rest of this year, if at all. And when they do, it'll probably, again, not a genie here, but everything as far as predictions go is anticipating that not being until 2024. And even then, how much, we're not sure. It may not even be a full percent. So do you really want to wait until prices drop and everyone floods the market and you have more competition? Because again, that's these people who feel stuck because they bought when rates were low, competition was high. Now they're not able to upgrade. So consider that, but also consider, again, the homes on the market. If every home or a majority of the homes coming on the market now are people who are downsizing or potentially going into assisted living, what have you, where they no longer need that much space and they have the equity built into the home, 9 times out of 10, that home is not going to be entirely updated. Is that a make or break? So I want you to consider that too. I know it's really exciting when you're buying a home. It's great to fantasize over what it's going to look like, and you're just going to have this amazing, I don't know, time and find everything you've ever been looking for. Over the past 5 years, on average, 90% of homeowners have had to compromise on something. So just know it's not just you, it's normal. There are parts of my house I don't love. There's also times where I look around and I go, do I really want to pay the mortgage I am just to have granite countertops? Because ultimately that's a lot of it. So keep that in mind too. What are your needs versus wants versus budget? And really, really think about it. Is it worth missing out on a house because the tile's not the color I want? Is that something you can do yourself further? But again, there's a lot of things that play into the market. We're in a really weird funk right now. And the issue is, again, finding a solution. So if you are a first-time home buyer, let's go ahead and figure out how to get you into a home. I do have my wonderful ways of finding properties that are not listed if we need to, and how to win in multiple offer situations. We've been dealing with multiple offers the last few years. So if you're in a price point where we're still seeing that, I got you. If you're looking to downsize, just know it may take a little bit longer than your neighbor's house down the road that is half the size for it to sell, because there are less buyers looking to move up right now. If they don't have to spend the money, they're not. But also you people that are in that middle ground situation where you either recently bought your home or you refinanced it, you don't have the equity in it yet to where it feels like it's worth moving. Just know that that is a huge pain point for so many people in the market right now. And you are not necessarily stuck. Please hear me. You are not necessarily stuck. We would love to have more inventory. There are still people looking to buy. And lenders are coming out with a lot of new things, or even not new things, that just haven't had to be utilized lately, that are a huge advantage for people in that position where they feel stuck. So if you really want to move, you don't absolutely have to, but you really, really want it and you do feel stuck, again, there are 82% of everyone in your situation feels the same way. So you are not alone. We can help. If you are considering it, reach out. If it doesn't end up being the right solution, we can't find something that works for you, I'll be entirely honest. But I have a number of really, really awesome lender partners who are happy to go through every scenario they possibly can to see how we can make it work for you and your family. But I hope this has been insightful. And when you guys see agents who just throw market statistics up and they look confusing and they're not explaining them, it may be that they're not really digging that deep into them either. But a lot of it is not looking at the bigger picture. And when you're not working in this all the time, it's really hard to put those pieces together. It's just numbers that don't make any sense. So if you ever see something in the media posted by another agent, what have you, and you're confused by it, number one, if it's the other agent, I would reach out to them as well, because they're the one putting that content out and they should be able to explain it. And also, just all fairness, if you're getting great information from them, awesome. I'm not the only good agent in town. But you can also always reach out to me, and I'm happy to help you sift through all of the craziness going around. But just know things are weird. Unfortunately, we don't anticipate them being a whole lot different for quite some time, just because the people who, again, are feeling stuck aren't going to see an interest rate at 2 or 3% again. They're not. It's just not going to happen. So realistically, the solutions are either figure out something that makes moving still worth it for them, or they're sitting in that house until they build up enough equity to offset it, which could be a decade. So if you're waiting for rates to drop and inventory to increase, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but might not be as great of a plan as it sounds on the surface. If you have personal reasons for waiting, let's sort through them. You're probably valid. I am a huge advocate of, again, first-time home buying. It's always the best time to buy when you can and are comfortable, because you don't have an appreciating asset in a home right now. You're just throwing money away on rent. If it's now versus a couple months from now, we can sort through that. If it is that you already own a home and you're looking at whether you should upgrade or downgrade, all of those things, the market plays into it some, and then so does your personal situation. So we really need to sort through all of it. I'm never going to get up here and say it's always the best time to buy or sell for anyone. That's just not true. It depends on your situation. Sometimes I'm going to tell you, it makes more sense for you to stay where you are. Can you handle that? But then other conversations too of, yes, you're never going to get the payment you are now on the house you have now because you're locked in at a 2%. But are you willing to stay in your home another 5, 10, 15 years, whatever, in order to stay on par with that? For some people, yes, it's 100% worth it. We can make it work. Awesome. For others, it's just not feasible. And then we need to start looking at how we can ease some of that stress on the financial side and make it work to make that jump. So again, as always, happy to sift through things with you, kind of piece everything together. I've been distracted. I have, baby. But we're here for you. I know data's confusing, the market's confusing, everything's up in the air right now. It's about to be an election year. That always throws things off too. Don't let that scare you either. Hopefully gas prices will come down for a little bit during that time. We'll see. But that too, we're hoping that that'll play a slight role in rates this coming year. Still not anticipating any of them being enough to make major changes for those people that it's not worth it to move. But I'm happy to always sort through whatever situation you may have and help you come to the best conclusion. Most of my conversations right now go about like this because I'm not sleeping. I know what I'm talking about. It sometimes goes in circles, but I love you all. Thank you for watching. As always, reach out if you have any questions and we'll get you situated.